So this is the first podcast of Nonsense in Science where me and my friend Otto had a debate with a young Earth creationist, but we had some technical difficulties at the beginning of the podcast. We were attempting to record the whole podcast face-to-face over Zoom, but you have to have a premium or prime Zoom membership to record for more than 40 minutes. So you guys are going to miss about the first 20 to 25 minutes of the debate because me and Otto were talking nonsense and shit before the debate actually started. And then once we got him on, we only got about 25 minutes of it on Zoom. And then I moved over to Audacity, which is an audio-only recording software. When the debate starts, we will be talking, mainly I was trying to ask him the question, do you believe that if studies are done properly with solid methods that you can really minimize the amount of human interpretation and human interference into what data you uncover? He gave his answer for that, and that's really right about where the podcast starts. Before that, we were just making small talk, asking him what religious sect he's a part of, if he takes the Bible completely literally or metaphorically. He had a decent answer to that. He said some parts are literal, some parts are metaphorical. I didn't really quite understand the line he was drawing as to what he takes literal and what he doesn't, but we're going to have him on again in about a month, and we may go into more detail with topics like that and some other ones that I didn't feel like we got to really go into as much as I would have liked to. It was a friendly and respectful debate. Me and Otto were getting decently drunk throughout it, so maybe the information we present later on in the episode is not quite as reliable as I would have liked it to be, but that's kind of the point of this podcast, is to have conversations with non-experts about fun scientific topics and just to talk shit. So the podcast starts about 25 minutes into the debate. It's going to start mid-conversation. It's a little abrupt, but I gave you the best amount of background I could before the audio starts, and then you have about 2.5 hours of uninterrupted debate from one little hiccup. I pressed the wrong button and stopped recording for about 8 seconds in the middle of one of his answers, but as soon as I realized that I started recording again, beyond that, you're not missing anything from the whole 2.5 hour conversation. So enjoy.
Well, are you still there?
Yeah, we're still here. Can you hear me?
It's saying that the Zoom meeting was about to end.
Oh,
it gave you count 1, 2, and then so I'm assuming that we're still together.
Yes.
Still live here.
Okay, so like I said, we're working out some difficulties. Apparently, you have to have a Prime Zoom membership to have a conversation longer than 40 minutes, and we were going for about 20 before you came on. But now I'm recording us on a different platform that I know works very well, so we'll figure it out. But
So the scientific now one thing that you mentioned that that they have to basically, what you're basically saying is they fact check themselves. They try to make sure that there's no human intervention in their scientific research. But honestly, I think that's an impossibility. I think that no matter what you're doing, anytime you have humans involved in anything, I think you always have, at the very least, the potential for bias, for the potential for human beings to interpret things to fit that bias. Because like take for instance our country, for example. That we're supposed to have checks and balances in place where we have our 3 branches of government. We have executive, legislative, judicial, and there's supposed to be those checks in there, right? Just like there's supposed to be checks in science, but that doesn't stop people from taking advantage of that system. I think anytime you have human beings involved, I think it's impossible to take out that factor of human beings wanting to manipulate the system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that too. With politics, I absolutely agree with that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, okay, my thing though is like you can't. Politics is more of a niche circle, right? Like science is for everybody, right? So like with science, I feel.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
So I think so your comparison with the whole government thing, I think it kind of falls because if you're in the government, that's more like of a close niche circle, right, of politicians. But for science, science is accessible to everybody. So I feel like there's more opinions in science than there would be, in the government.
Well, I mean, but you also have, within science, you have a very strong belief in one particular thing, and that's evolution, right? So you have, within the realm of science, you have this sense that there's basically only one way to go in this, right? I mean, I would argue the opposite, that in politics you actually have a little more freedom there because you have two roads. You have Republican, Democrat, so you actually have the freedom to pick one side or the other. And when you're dealing with science, there's very little room for any dissension from anybody who wants to step outside of the evolutionary realm. There was a study, not a study, I'm sorry, there was an incident back in 2007 where a scientist named Nathaniel Abraham, who was he worked at the what was called Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute in Massachusetts, and he was fired from his job because he refused to accept evolution, and he decided that he was going to tell everybody basically that he was a creationist, and they fired him over it. So there's this notion within the scientific community that if you try to step outside of the realm of evolution, that you're very liable to be in jeopardy.
Okay, no, I absolutely agree with that. There is a certain amount of a dogmatic approach that science has that I do not like. But the thing I was mainly getting at was that, for example, like if we look at math, it's pretty hard for humans to interfere in 2 + 2 being 4, right?
Right.
And so when it comes to science, when the methods are done correctly, a good scientist, there are a lot of bad scientists out there, especially in there are certain fields where there seems to be more than others, like archaeology. I think there's a lot of dogmatic shit going on there. But when it comes to stuff like chemistry, in particular, chemistry and physics, it's very hard for a human to say the speed of gravity isn't what we've measured. And for chemistry, it's very hard for a human to say this rate of reaction takes this long. It's almost impossible for them to change it. And so I don't trust humans. And I feel like that's another thing creationists tend to put on people who believe in evolution. I don't trust people. I trust the evidence that people are able to uncover, because you can talk about any topic. Humans can absolutely manipulate stuff and try to bend the facts to their favor, but I feel like that should absolutely also apply to creationists, because they are humans too.
Absolutely. It really, I think a lot of it comes down to, because of the fact that none of us have PhDs, right? And I'd say 99% of the people who are in this creation evolution debate do not have PhDs. We're mostly going by the people who do, right? So we're if you believe in evolution, you're going to be listening to that 1% of people who believe evolution, believe in creationism. You're going to listen to those 1% that believe creationism. So I think it's almost in a sense that he said, she said it. And I think it really boils down to who you really want to listen to, and both sides claim facts. Both claim that they have the correct interpretation of the facts, and so it really, I really think it's almost kind of like, to me, I hate politics and I hate going back to it, but I think it's a lot like it in the sense that Republicans will claim they have their facts, Democrats will claim they have their facts, but whatever side of the pendulum you swing on, that's who you're going to listen to.
Mr. Steve, you're making good arguments here.
Hey, man.
You're making a very good conversation so far.
Thank you. I'm enjoying this. It's fun.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Is this the first time you've done something like this, Steve?
It is, You know, I do a lot of debates with people online, but this is the first time I've ever done one live. So, you know, it's fun. I like it. It's enjoyable. And I think it helped to we kind of got to know each other a little bit and kind of break the ice a little before we did it. And it kind of helped us to, you know, make it to where it's not
an argument.
Us against you kind of thing, you know.
Right. It's not an argument. We're not arguing here what happened.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, I like the points you're making. I like, you know, having, what would you call it? I guess a second opinion.
Right.
So do you need to say anything? Okay, so I want to get on the topic of macroevolution real quick.
Yeah.
You brought that up. I have a couple questions here. We'll take it point by point so you don't get fucking just bombarded with shit you need to cover. So let's say if there is no macroevolution, why do humans have genetic data and DNA in common with every other living species on the planet, including plants? Because if you look at bananas, 60% of our DNA matches with bananas, right? So the argument from my side is that we all came from a common ancestor. I mean, squids have a very similar serotonin system as humans do. We can give them drugs that act on the human serotonin system, and it does the same thing to them. So why do we have so much genetic data in common with other animals if we did not all evolve from the same thing?
Well, my response to that would be that the reason why we have a lot of things in common with okay, let's just say, for instance, like dogs or you can even say plants, is because we interact with nature in very similar ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
We drink water. We drink water. They drink water. Plants absorb water.
We get energy from the sun.
What's that?
Yeah, like we get vitamins and energy from the sun, just like plants. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're going to have similar DNA to a certain extent to most living things. So it's not surprising that we have a certain amount of the same DNA as most animals. So I think you could just as easily argue design in that that's how God created us. That God created the world the way that it is, and He knew what we would need, and He knew how we would interact with what He created, and so He designed every creature to be able to react and respond to nature in the same way.
So go ahead.
I just want to ask Mason. Mason, how do you think it all started? Like, where do you think where do you think we came from?
See, this is where it gets tricky because I don't know.
Right. Nobody. It's hard to say. Yeah.
So I don't know. So it's not something I can really put a number on or put an exact definition on. We don't know how the first cell formed. That doesn't mean that it didn't form through evolution. But at the same time, to give the devil its due, or give the God its due, if you will, we don't know if God didn't do it either. So to me, it comes down to this. Steve, do you know what Occam's razor is? Have you ever heard that term?
Occam's razor. I've heard it used, and I've actually looked up the definition. I can't recall exactly what it is, but maybe it'll refresh my memory.
So it's basically the most simple. If say you have 3 explanations for the same thing, the most simple one is probably true, and that's usually the philosophy science follows. So if we can explain all of this without God, and we just have a couple gaps here and there, because we've only been studying this stuff for like 200 years max, right? So if we have a couple gaps in here, that doesn't mean God needs to fill the gaps. That just means we haven't really figured it out yet. And to me, once you introduce God into this whole equation, everything becomes more complicated, because it becomes where did God come from? Mechanically, how does He do what He does? How does He speak to people? How did He create life? What did He actually do? And so, to me, evolution is the most simple example, the most simple answer, because life wants to survive. And so, whatever works, evolution sticks with, which is why, another thing I wanted to say about macroevolution, I hear a lot of people say, how come dogs don't turn into another species? And it's because dogs work. Dogs survive in the wild. They don't need to turn into another species. They're doing fine. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, forgot where I was going with that, but so you go ahead and respond to whatever I just said.
So there was a lot that you said there. I think the main points I want to really focus on were you were talking about the origins of life, and then what was the other thing that you mentioned?
Occam's razor.
The origins of life and the simple answer being the most accurate answer. One thing that I have to look at anytime I'm looking at abiogenesis, I'm looking at how things first form. Well, the first thing that's important to realize is they have no clue. Abiogenesis has a lot of theories and absolutely no answer. They've never been able to reproduce in a lab what they claim as far as how things were first formed.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you can do this to me too, by the way. I would like us to try to take this like point by point if we can.
Okay.
So if I bring up a point that you have an answer to, just go ahead and interrupt me. That won't upset me. I don't care.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to unpack everything you said. You guys said a lot there, so I'm trying to condense it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me make a note of that, and you can go ahead and finish your answer.
Oh. Okay. So I think there's a few reasons why natural selection to me doesn't make any sense at all as far as the origin of life is concerned. And one of them has to be the cell itself. You guys mentioned the cell. And, besides just the absolute extreme complexity of DNA, you look at the cell itself. The cell has three parts, right? It has DNA, RNA, and protein. And all of these things they work interchangeably. You can't have one without the other. So for a cell to actually function, you have to have all three working simultaneously. You can't have DNA without RNA. You can't have RNA without DNA. You can't have any of those things without protein. So you couldn't have had an original cell with only one of these things, and then the other two just suddenly come along and fill in the gap. So that would be one thing that I would say on that. I would say the other thing is with DNA. You look at how complex it is, and they say on one 2 millimeter strand of DNA, you would have 93 million miles of letter coding within it. It's so complex that it's far more complex than any supercomputer. So if you take a 2 millimeter strand of DNA and think what the chances would be of that forming by natural means, it's astronomical. Creationists would argue that it's impossible. And it's just so complex that there's just no possible way. As far as the simplest answer being the best, I got to flip flop on that and say I believe God would be the simplest answer, because for natural selection to be how things were formed naturally, there would have to be some crazy things that would have to happen, and and basically some impossible things. The cell. Like I said, the cell, it cannot function without all of its parts. And another thing, too, how would the first creature have survived without a brain? How did the first alleged creature survive without being able to think or a heart to pump? How did the first creature evolve into knowing that it needed a heart to pump blood? There's just so many things in that to me just really doesn't make sense.
You don't think we just got lucky?
That would have to be really lucky, man.
Yeah, you don't think we just got really lucky? Like we just rolled the dice. We just rolled the dice and happened to get a good existence.
Well, let me build on what Otto just said, if you don't mind.
Yeah, not a problem.
First off, I don't necessarily agree with him. So, second, just to make this clear, you're a Christian, I'm an atheist, Otto's an agnostic. So we got three kind of differing opinions going here. Right.
Okay.
So that makes it a little more fun, but let's say we all did get lucky. I mean, technically, like the statistics show that. You look at every other planet in the solar system, every other star, galaxy we've ever looked at. There's no other life. So maybe we did get really, really lucky. You know what I mean? But second, I don't think. So let's say you start with the first cell. The cell doesn't need a heart or a brain. The cell is just alive. And evolution, like I said earlier, wants to be alive. So it starts making this more complex way to eat more protein and get more amino acids into its body so it can become bigger and stronger. And if you, like, I wish our Zoom was working so we could show you a graph, but there is, if you look at the history of mass extinctions on the planet, when you look at the beginning of the planet, the mass extinctions are much more common and much more severe than they are today. And to me, that is a brilliant piece of evidence for evolution, because evolution figured out how to make life more adaptable. And I know you may not agree with the timeline that graph would show.
Right.
But it is true that you can go, the deeper you go down into soil, the more fossils you find than the ones above it. And
you know what creationists would argue on that is that large band of fossils, the mass extinction event would be the flood, would be the Great Flood.
Okay, but the problem I would have with that is that they're all not at the same layer. So it doesn't appear to have all happened at one time. Now let's hold on. Let's hold the flood off for a little bit, if you don't mind, because I want to go a little bit deeper into that besides just this quick evolution argument. The thing that you said about RNA, DNA, and proteins are so I don't know if you're aware, but we have found amino acids, which are the building blocks to proteins, on comets and asteroids far away from Earth. Like they have formed naturally, and there is this. We kind of had this conversation, me and Otto, before this debate started. I don't like using the word simple in this case, but there is a basic chemistry foundation called spontaneity, which is basically if you have all the right ingredients at all the right time, under the right conditions, it will spontaneously cause a reaction to form something that you couldn't have really predicted.
Are we talking about spontaneous generation?
No, just spontaneous reactions. I was a chemistry major at one point. I can't list you a spontaneous reaction off the top of my head anymore, but if you cut the Earth's time down to 6,000 years, then sure, it doesn't really make sense how this could have happened all in this short of amount of time. But if you open it up to 4.5 billion years, suddenly you have a vast amount of time for these certain reactions to take place.
Well, most certainly, I'd agree with you there. Evolution does not fit into a 6,000-year time span for sure. I mean, that's for sure. But even with the amino acids, you still have the problem of the cell. The first cell would have to be able to work with the DNA, the RNA, and the proteins all working together. You wouldn't be able to have a process where the proteins would just build up and then form, and then you connect it to say like RNA, and then maybe to DNA, or even simultaneously, because the DNA and the RNA wouldn't work without the proteins being there, so you could have a dead cell. So the creationists, a few creationists have tried to calculate this. They've done the mathematics on it, and it's virtually impossible. One creationist basically likened it to being blindfolded and finding one atom in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. I think he said 10 to the 74th power were the odds of something forming naturally. It's just even with the amino acids, that's still the major problem that you run into. So even before we get to the first creature being able to have evolve without a heart or a brain or anything else like that, you have a major problem with cells themselves, and so far that's a problem that scientists have not been able to figure out, and that's one of the reasons why abiogenesis just has not been able to make any progress. It's just they make little progresses here and there. They say, well, there's we like you said, we found amino acids and all this other stuff, but until they can figure out how a cell could have evolved from natural processes, abiogenesis is a different field from evolution and all that, but in all honesty, I mean, if you can't figure out how the first cells evolved, how can you say that evolution has occurred to begin with? So I honestly, I think it's incapable. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, you guys would disagree. I'm sure many would, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, so like on the whole finding an atom blindfolded, to me that comes down to the time frame. If you give someone 6,000 years, then yeah, they're probably not going to find anything. But if you give someone 4 billion years, they might. Do you see what I'm getting at? So like just to kind of put it into perspective, like this little thought experiment, how long do you think a million seconds is? Like in days?
Oh, in days? Oh, wow. You make me really think here. I don't have a calculator in front of me. You might have to help me.
Okay, so this is just to kind of put into perspective how long a billion is. And so a million seconds, I think, is something like 36 days. We're looking at 11 days. It's 11 days, right?
11 days.
So if you were to take a billion seconds, that's 37 years.
Right.
Okay, so
multiple processes that can happen within each second,
And if you have if you have 4.5 billion years,
incalculable amount of processes could happen during that time.
Yeah.
But it still runs into that problem, the same problem that the first cell would have to have all three of those things working simultaneously for it to exist, and there's no natural process that they know of. Cells survive without one of those three things, without all of those three things functioning together, and it's just impossible. That DNA, RNA, and protein all have to be working simultaneously for a cell to function.
Okay, yeah, I mean, no, like, I think you're bringing up some very valid arguments. And
it's making sense to me.
Yeah, and this is something I actually told Otto here before we started, was our conversation. You were having the conversation with me, Mason, not Otto on YouTube. And, I mean, I told Otto, you seem very well spoken. You seem to really have a good understanding and knowledge.
You as well. I got the same. I listened to your video, and I thought, wow, this guy's really smart. Hey.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah, that video was made, I don't even know how long ago I made that.
About you. I honestly mean that.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. So I say we move on to your question now. I think we had a good conversation there. So you go ahead and ask us your first question, and I'll let Otto take the lead on answering it here.
All right. Let me see here. Got it written down. Hold on a sec here. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it now. Okay. Do you believe Darwin was an atheist, and do you believe this had any influence on his decision to pursue the theory of evolution?
So we looked it up, and it says he was agnostic. Google says he was agnostic, which yeah, Google. Our Lord and Savior Google said that he was agnostic.
Right.
And but
on a Christian website, okay.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. See, at first I kind of started off as atheist myself, right? But then I thought it was just as unreasonable to say that there is no God as much as there is a God.
Right.
So that's where I stand, right? I think that there could be a God. I think that, it's just so complicated, we might never know.
Right.
So do you think that had a role to play in
But
Darwin's theory?
in Darwin's case, I feel like it's just such a hard question because we're not Darwin, like we can't answer for him.
Right.
But if
only speculate, right?
Right, if I had to say, I would say that he had his doubts.
Yeah, I believe that as well. I read one of his quotes that he had when he was in the theological seminary, and he said, "I soon persuaded myself that our creed must be fully accepted." That would be the creed of the church he was in. Mm-hmm. It never struck me how illogical it was to say I believed in what I did not understand and what is in fact unintelligible. So you kind of get the impression there that was a conflicting view within his mind, that he on one hand he thought, well, I got to follow this creed, but on the other hand he was thinking, no, this doesn't really make sense,
Right. So he ran his own experiments about it. He he saw that his kids were deformed, so he invested in it, and it turns out incest is not good.
Right.
So I think he like.
Oh, go ahead.
I think that what happened with Darwin was he could have been a man of faith, but at the same time he was just as curious as anybody is. And searching into that curiosity, he turned out being agnostic. I think he had his doubts on either sides.
Well, he definitely rejected some things, a lot of biblical teachings. He rejected the flood. He rejected the evidence of God in creation. He rejected pretty much everything about Jesus. So there were definitely aspects of the Bible that he rejected. But my personal opinion on that is he rejected the Bible and he accepted secular thinking, and so basically, long before he went to the Galapagos Islands, I think he pretty much formulated his worldview already. He basically rejected the main teachings of the church.
What do you mean by secular? Like his secular teachings? What do you mean by that?
Secular, like that would just mean like non-religious.
Non-religious, okay.
Yeah, like secular as opposed to religious.
Okay. I mean, it was a good question. Like I studied him back in college, and really, like we didn't even talk about his beliefs or whatnot. We just talked about his works, right? But if I had to put myself in his shoes, I would say he experienced what most people experience nowadays. And they grow up believing in something, but curiosity gets the best of them.
Right.
Do you mind?
I think my second question was pretty much answered already. It was, do you find it difficult to believe in evolution when abiogenesis is not sufficiently proven how the first cell's going to evolve? So I've already gone through I think you guys have already gone through your first two questions, and my two questions, I think the first two questions have already been answered. So.
Our second question is, do you believe in any form of evolution?
Oh, I thought we already did that one.
Yeah, you did cover the microevolution. That's right.
Yeah. I think we're on radiometric dating now.
Okay, we'll go to that.
Do you believe in radiometric dating?
Yeah, so do you believe in radiometric dating or stratigraphic dating? Why or why not?
Only if it leads to marriage in the end.
Yeah.
I had to throw that in there.
That was good. That was a good little jab.
We're gonna cut that out. We're cutting that part out, Steve. You messed it up.
I screwed it up. Okay. No, I don't believe the radiometric dating is accurate.
Okay, why not?
I've basically got three different things here. I've got, there's just like with the evidences of the young Earth. There's so many that the creationist websites go over reasons why. So I basically just divided it into three different websites, three different reasons why radiometric dating, why creationists don't accept it.
Okay.
So the first one's from ICR. That would be the Institute of Creation Research. They say that rocks of known ages always show vastly inflated radioisotopic ages.
So the question I would ask...
various radioisotope methods or even various attempts using the same method yield discordant ages more than concordant ages.
Okay, let me butt in real quick. How they're saying rocks of known ages? How do they know the age?
I'm guessing that through. I'm thinking what they're saying here is that when they figured it out through one method of radiometric dating, the age of a rock, that when they use other forms of dating, that those ages tend to differ. So I was reading an article about it, and there's many ways to date rocks, right? So they use these different methods, and when they use one method, and then they use another method, a lot of times those dates will not coincide. So
the reason, this largely depends on what type of rock you're dating. So usually what I have seen creationists point to, and this may have been what your source was pointing to, is sandstone is generally impossible to date with carbon. Because sandstone has a vast amount of carbon in it. Okay? A good percentage of that rock's concentration chemical, like elemental concentration, is carbon.
Okay.
And it is sandstone constantly sucks carbon out of the atmosphere. So you can get between an extremely young and an extremely old date on the same rock. And so that is when we roll in a different dating method, because carbon's not useful on that type of rock, right? So then we will roll in another dating method. And we have, I can't remember the exact number. It's like 7 to 10 different radiometric dating methods that we use. And it's because not every radiometric dating fits what they're dating perfectly, you know? So to me, I'm a little hesitant to say just because different radiometric dating show different dates. To me, there's a very good reason that happens. And this is why I asked you the question earlier, what sciences do you believe and not believe? Because it all comes down to the same two. The two main forms of scientists, geologists, and other people are going to get mad at me for this, but it's all chemistry and physics. That's what literally everything on Earth boils down to. Those two things. So once you start...
Yeah, I learned something there. That's interesting.
So once you start diving in to any science, geology, environmental sciences, atmospheric sciences, astronomy, all that, it all boils down to chemistry and physics. And
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me move on to AIG. This is Answers in Genesis.
I'm going to go use the restroom. I'm going to let Otto take the wheel here. I'll be right back.
Okay. Gotcha. Should we pause a second and wait for you to come back, or?
Yeah, we should. We should give Mason a minute or two.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Gotcha. Okay. That'll give me a second to do a couple things here too. Let me know when you're back. I'll be right back.
You got it. All right, folks. This is your usual Otto Octavio time. Mason's taking a little break, and Mr. Steven is also doing some things. Yeah, I'm having fun so far. Mr. Steven's pretty well spoken, pretty cool dude so far. If I'm ever in the Tampa Bay area, I'm gonna hit him up, see what's going on. Mr. Steven sounds like he's got a bunch of honeys down there. Also, sorry folks if when you first heard me I was yelling. I have no measure of voice. I have no volume at all. I'm either screaming or talking like this. If you'd like me to, I could talk a little quieter. But I hope you guys are enjoying so far the episode. Mr. Stevens, putting out some good points, putting good evidence. Me, I'm agnostic, so I could lean either way. I definitely believe science. There's a bunch of evidence, but at the same time, it's not bad to have a little faith in a higher being, just because the teachings aren't bad, right? The teachings aren't all that bad. Sure, you got some passages in different.
Do we have any beers left in there?
My bad. We have, there's some passages, that, say some outlandish stuff, how women shouldn't lead and stuff, but there's also good parts of the Bible that, teach us to be good people, love each other and stuff. So, whichever way you lean is fine. All we ask for is that you're nice to each other. You can have good debates, good conversation, like me, Mason, and Mr. Steven here. Just have good conversation, and don't be hateful, folks. All right, I swear, any comments we see, we will delete. I will be reading all comments personally. I talked about being loud. All right, he just wanted to make sure you were back.
All right, Steve, I'm back.
Oh, you back? All right. Well, I'm back too then.
You have a lighter?
I don't.
Oh no. Let's see if I can open it with this. Steve, do you drink?
No.
Have you ever used any drug other than alcohol?
Yeah, unfortunately, but yeah.
Unfortunately. Man, you are from a different time.
I am, yeah. In Florida here, I'd say more people than not use drugs or drink here, so I'm definitely not the norm here either.
So this we'll get back to the debate at hand in a second. So are you generally anti-drug? Like you think they should be illegal?
I try not to get involved in politics. I'm not really a political kind of guy. I used to be.
I'm all with you there, mate. Politics sucks.
Yeah, I hate politics, man. To be honest, I I vote independent, so I don't hold to Republican or Democrat.
Well, good for you. That's a good thing.
What's that?
That's a good thing. Good for you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'd much rather, if I don't hear anything from CNN or Fox for a good week, I'm usually pretty good to go.
Well, I'm all with you there. Man, see, like, I feel like me and you could be friends, you know?
I think we could.
Like,
We are friends. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I got your phone number now, and you got mine.
Yeah, we are friends. I don't know what Mason's talking about.
Well, yeah, man, this has been a very fun conversation. You know, because one thing I've noticed is that I don't even like saying in today's world, because I feel like it's always been like this, but people who have a vast disagreement, like a creationist versus an atheist, they don't talk. You know, we don't have conversations. We don't find middle grounds.
Arguing, and it's usually name calling.
Yeah, ad hominems.
You know, it's I find that that's the case with a lot of things now. There's just so much anger and hatred in people right now that, I mean, I think, you know, people being cooped up for 2 years basically inside of their house has taken its toll, and then we got the threat of nuclear war with Russia, and I think, you know...
And I think it generally boils down to just dehumanizing the other side. Like, I see you as a human, you see me as a human, and we're having a human conversation right now.
I think it's all social media.
Social media.
I think it's all social media, you know. People think, my thing is, I think that ever since social media became popular, people just think that they have a platform to voice themselves, right?
Right.
And just that's just where arguments start, you know. Somebody voices their opinions, and then some other person comes along.
And it comes down to, like, I'm not saying this about you, Steve. I'm using a metaphor here. It's like, I think you're an idiot. You think I'm an idiot. You're fucking wrong. I'm fucking wrong. Like, it
agree to disagree.
Yeah,
you know?
It always comes down to this. Like, see, I love these conversations. Like, me and my girlfriend have these conversations all the time. We don't agree on everything, but we never get hostile with each other. We just sit there and talk for 3 hours, and then we're like, oh shit, we don't agree. Whatever.
It's not on public records.
I'll go take out the trash, and you can go make dinner or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you got to look at the other side as a human being. You know, like I don't think you're stupid, Steve, and I hope you don't think we're stupid. You know, like we don't.
We're kind of dumb.
Yeah, we may be. A little, that's why the fucking.
Everybody has their moments. I don't think we're all always, you know.
Steve, we're cutting that out too. We're cutting that part out too.
Yeah, we all have our moments.
Well, you know,
I have to change location here, so I'm going to move to it. My roommate is getting ready to come home, so I'm going to move locations here a little bit, and
can join the debate.
So that way we can have a little more privacy. And
oh man, you do whatever you need to do, man. Thank you very much for coming on our show. This is our first episode we're going to put on YouTube ever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we are very...
We're probably close to an hour by now, right?
Whoa, over it, yeah.
Yeah, we're over it, but I'm ready to keep... I'm ready to keep going if you are, man. Don't let me take up your whole night if you don't want to, but we will go as long as you're willing to go. We love this shit.
And this is pre-recorded too, so...
Yeah. So let me know whenever you're ready and we can get back to it.
Okay, yeah, let me just find a spot here, and we will continue. Sounds good. All right. Seems like I probably should have done a little more research on the radiometric dating, just to because it is your area of expertise. So I feel like I'm a little underprepared for that, but. You guys do want to look up a little bit more on that. You know, I think the creationist sites, they go through some very extensive explanations about why they don't believe in radiometric dating. So something for you to look up. And
if you want to point us to some sources, creation.com, we can absolutely read over their articles and go through it together real quick if you feel like doing that.
We still have 5 more points to go through, so we better try to maybe. I think we might want to shorten it just a little bit.
Okay,
it's going to be 4 hours long by the time we're done.
Well,
there's probably a lot of stuff in there, but yeah, I would just I would basically suggest 3 sites. I would go to creationism.com. That's a really good one. ICR.org is a good one. That's the Institute for Creation Research. And then the last one would be Answers in Genesis. And all three of them, they have a lot of articles on radiometric dating that we'll probably be able to go into a lot more detail than what I would be able to get into.
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe we'll revisit this debate on a later date and do this all again.
We'll have Steven back on for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. You've been a great...
Maybe we can just focus completely on the radiometric dating, just have a whole segment on that, and
yeah, man. We can have a complete podcast for every fucking question we've had so far. Let's.
Pretty much, yeah.
We really could, yeah.
Let's move. Let's move to your next question. I think you're on question number 3, if I remember correctly.
Question number 3. Let's see. I thought this would be a fun one to ask you guys.
Okay.
This one I think will be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because you always hear, atheists, they always go, well, there's not enough evidence for God, right? That's the main thing they say. Well, what kind of evidence would you want God to give you that He exists?
Okay. For me, if I make a point you want to dispute, go ahead and interrupt me. I won't take it personally.
I don't think there's any right or wrong answer on this one. I think this is just you, man.
So for me, I want to see evidence for the flood. And speaking of that, you watched my video on the Younger Dryas, what happened 12,800 years ago. You saw that video, you commented on it. Did you watch the whole thing?
I have not watched it all yet, but now you're making me feel guilty, and I need to go back.
Oh no! I didn't mean it like that. Did you get to the point where I was showing evidence for massive flooding on the North American continent?
I did not get that part, no.
That's no problem. So, basically, I saw an Answers in Genesis video, and they said flooding leaves no evidence behind. I strongly disagree. The flooding leaves a vast amount of evidence behind. So, for example, let's say you have a gravel driveway, and a massive flood rolls through, and it washes away all the gravel. There is evidence of a flood right there. Your gravel's gone. Something made it move. It wasn't you. You didn't move all that. So
that flood don't leave evidence behind? That doesn't sound like something AIG would say. They've got...
Actually, hold on. It may have been Is Genesis History. I get those two confused every now and then. It may have been that one. But the...
AIG is man, if you want to... of all the things they focus on, I mean, AIG has a whole arc built inside of this. I mean, they focus on the flood.
I have seen their...
if you want some flood after AIG, there's plenty to read there.
I have seen their arc. I've seen pictures of that. I'd even like to go to it one day because I find this stuff very interesting. I would absolutely go to their museum just to see what's going on.
Right.
I'd love to see their arc because it looks like a pretty impressive feat of engineering. To be honest, that's a big arc that they built out there.
Like Bill Nye went there one time, I believe. Bill Nye, the science guy.
I don't like that fucking guy.
He's a quack. He's a quack.
We don't like him here.
You guys don't subscribe to
No. Bill. But anyway, I would like to see evidence, worldwide evidence of a worldwide flood.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
And I would like to see genetic evidence of Adam and Eve. If I could see evidence of those two things, then... So let me also clarify. If I could see evidence of those two things that don't have more lines of evidence with another theory, then I would possibly believe in God.
Interesting. Okay. I figured it was going to be one of those, like, well, if you step down on my front lawn...
That would be good, too.
Yeah, that would be great.
Hey, guys, what's up? I'm God.
But see, also, like, if God is this omniscient, amazing being, what the hell does He want to step on my front lawn for? I feel like I can acknowledge that. Like, who am I to Him? There's been millions of humans. Why is He going to step on my lawn? I'm all with you there.
Right.
But in terms of evidence for God, I would like to see genetic evidence of Adam and Eve and geologic and stratigraphic evidence of the flood. If those two things were to be presented to me in a very good way, in a very solid way, then maybe I would change my mind.
Interesting that you said that because I was just watching AIT's YouTube channel yesterday, and apparently they've got a whole series on DNA. They actually go through they had a whole series on the origins of the races, and they actually what kind of science was I forget the scientist what field he was in that was actually working on it, but he was that's his thing, that's his specialty, and they basically used DNA to figure out the lines of all the races, and they took it back quite a ways too, and so that might be something you might be interested in. And also apparently they just made a claim on their one of their last videos that they have been working on DNA evidence and genealogical evidence. They've been doing a study for the past decade, and they have something that is going to be revolutionary, and it's actually going to be testable by evolutionists that takes DNA all the way back. So I that might be something that you would be interested in, but you might check that out. It's on AIG's YouTube site, and they basically called it their gold standard of science that they've just come out with. So it sounds impressive. I'm not sure what it all entails, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty impressive.
I would absolutely be interested in watching that, and I probably, I subscribe to their channel. So like another thing I want to make clear is I'm not coming in here to try to destroy your argument or fucking make you an atheist. I'm genuinely not. I'm not here. I'm not here for that. I'm here to hear what you have to say. I subscribe to Answers in Genesis. I watch most of their videos. Like I'm here for it. I want to hear what you guys have to say, because I do respect you people.
Right.
That sounded fucking rude, but I do respect you guys.
You people.
Respect you people.
Yeah.
What do you mean, you people? No, just kidding.
Yeah, but
I had a flashback to what was that movie? Anger Management. Remember that?
that was a
I don't know
good
if you
movie.
have movies or not. Remember? What do you mean, you people? Anyway,
Yeah.
because if you didn't see the movie, you won't get it.
But I do, I'm here for it. Like, I want to hear what you guys say, and it's not to try to prove you guys wrong. It's just
Right.
because this is another thing I feel is that if people have conversations like we're having right now, each side's arguments get stronger, because then you're not arguing in a vacuum and talking in a vacuum where you just start coming up with all these axiomatic beliefs where you just take them as given instead of having someone giving you real challenges to your beliefs.
Right.
I'm absolutely ready to hear whatever they present. And if it's truly testable evidence, I would be very interested to see their methods to bringing this evidence to scientists.
Yeah, I'm really interested too. They're really hyping it up. Apparently it's research that they've been conducting for the last 10 years. So they've really put a lot into it. So I'm really interested myself, because I like that kind of thing. The genealogy study was very interesting. They were talking about the origin of the races, like where all of the Asians descended from, the Europeans. I mean, they basically did every continent, and they went through each one and showed the links between all of the different ethnic groups and where they are today. I mean, it was really fascinating. I think if you click on their playlist, right on their playlist, they have that entire series compiled into one playlist. So it's really interesting.
Okay. No, I mean, maybe we get you back on once this is all published and have this discussion about that particular paper. But we still have some more questions to go through, so I say we move on to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's get them before this turns into a 10-hour video.
Yeah. So,
Okay, let's see. I guess it's your turn, right? You're on question number 4?
So, I'm going to let Otto respond to your response this time. And the question is, do you have any evidence of, well, actually, we kind of just answered that, so let's skip that one. Do you, it was, do you have any evidence of God that exists outside the Bible that isn't supported more heavily by another theory? But your question kind of was an answer to that question, so I'm comfortable with skipping that one.
Hold on. Can I answer that one real quick, Steven?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, do you have evidence of God that exists? I think we could see evidence in a higher plan, just in the people we talk to,
Okay.
Right. I don't know. It's like my definition of God isn't necessarily like a person or somebody, right? It's more like an idea.
Okay.
And I think you can find God in anybody you talk to, right? You know you can, it's just about how you go about it, and I don't, yeah. Go ahead.
No. I was thinking about what you said, and to a certain degree, I think you're right because, for Christians in particular, because as Christians we have the Holy Spirit that resides within us. So
Yeah.
when you're speaking, that's according to the Christian faith. I realize that I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but that's just according to Christianity. Is that we have the Holy Spirit within us, and when you're speaking to a Christian, then as long as that Christian is acting in the spirit and not in the flesh,
Right. It's more to them.
Then you're hearing the voice of God.
Right. It's more to them. It's more than just what. Yeah. But they see that's the whole thing about being agnostic, right? It's like I'm not too sure what God it is, but like I believe there's something beautiful there when you're talking to somebody.
Have you ever heard the joke where it's like, I'm a militant agnostic, I don't know, and neither the fuck do you? That's a pretty good one. Like,
oh man, militant agnostic. That sounds scary.
So my evidence of God.
Me, but it doesn't sound very peaceful and fun.
Yeah.
So my evidence of God would just be looking inwards towards the people you interact with. That's where I find it.
Okay.
That's where I would find my evidence. Like the fact that it says God made us in His image. So we should. It's just you just gotta treat other people nicely, and the better you treat a person is, the more good you see out of them.
Let the atheist butt in here real quick. First off, in my opinion, don't you see dogs acknowledging each other very peacefully all the time?
Yeah, but it's like I can't talk to a dog though. If I could, maybe.
No, but like dogs have a form of communication, or they'd be killing each other all the time, right?
Dogs are smart in their own ways.
Yeah, that's what I'm. And so, also, what was it? You made 2 points.
I said that. What did I say?
You peacefully communicate with humans and made us in His image. Okay, so the second thing I want to say about that is, if He made us in His image, why do we look like every other mammal on the planet? We have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, nose beneath the eyes, mouth beneath the nose, chin beneath the mouth. If God made us in His image, He sure looks like a dog.
Well,
actually, there are, obviously, I'm going to state the obvious. I mean, there are animals that have, body parts and parts that are different than human beings.
Well,
right?
Mammals specifically. There's not much variance in mammals. We have 4 limbs. We all have hair.
right. we see differently though.
We have lenses. We don't see that differently either.
Oh, go ahead.
I feel like because you have.
See, now me and Otto are debating.
Yeah, you have front eye placement and then you have side eye placement. So like not all
mammals have side eye placement.
Praise, right? Praise.
I would say 2 things to that. I would say the first thing is that what he actually means by created in His image has more to do with other things, such as our ability to create, our ability to change our future, our ability to be able to reason things out and to be creative, those types of things. There's so many things that human beings do that no other creature in this earth could even possibly think about doing. So God also creates. Now, of course, we're a more imperfect version of that. We're not God.
Yeah, we still murder and rape and all that good
share
shit
with God that are similar to Him. So I believe that's what it's talking about when it's referring to made in His image.
So my response, I'll let Otto respond too.
Go ahead.
But I'm not trying to dominate the conversation over here, Otto. But to me, all that stems from a more complex brain. So we only have a 1% genetic difference between us and chimps. And chimps, they still use tools. Like, they still will bring a piece of wood over to stand on top of, to climb on top of something. So to me, this difference you see between us and chimps, it's genuinely not that big. And I know, because the only...
Do you really mean that, though? Do you really think that way?
I do.
I can see many things that are way different. But
hold on. Let me explain what I'm saying, because I was just about to say that sounds a little retarded or ridiculous, but what I'm basically saying is that our only frame of reference is what we've seen on this planet.
Right.
So we have a 1% difference in genetic composition than chimps. Imagine something with a 10% advantage. It would be so vastly superior to anything we've ever created that once you put it in perspective, it's suddenly...
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Once you put it in perspective of, let's say, an alien species who can travel across the galaxy in a matter of days compared to us, they're like, oh, these things are monkeys. Like, they're just monkeys trying to do good.
Right.
And so that's usually where I stand. Now, let's let Otto, because I can tell he's thinking about something here.
I'm thinking about something.
Okay, well, let me make one little point here. I was going to dispute something. You mentioned that chimps have a 1% difference. That's one thing that creationists have debunked. The assertion by evolutionists that I believe it's 98%, it could be 99%, but that assertion creationists disagree with and place it more to about an 80 to 85% similarity between us and chimps.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
So let's say it's just 15%. So let's jump it up to 50%. You know what I mean? Like if we double the amount of expertise and evolution and superiority, something that's double the amount of expertise and superiority to us, to chimps, would be unrecognizable to humans. It would be so vastly superior that, to me, there's not much of a jump between us and chimps.
Right.
So, Otto, you go ahead.
I mean, that's interesting speculation. I mean, but I think the differences. I mean, the differences between us and chimps, I think, is so vast that we can do things that chimps couldn't even begin to think about doing. I mean,
But it's only massive to us.
When's the last time we saw a city created by a chimp? You know?
Yeah.
Right.
I hear you.
Or an orchestra, like a symphony. You know.
Yeah.
You know, there's just I mean, I'm not trying to laugh at you and make it sound like I'm thinking you're stupid or anything.
Dude.
I would just say that I disagree with that.
Yeah, that's my job.
You can laugh all you want, man. It doesn't bother me. It's a funny conversation, man.
I'm sure you guys are gonna laugh at me over a few things. I mean, I'm sure you guys are thinking 6,000 euros. What in the world's this guy talking about? But,
No, man. Like, we're not. And I feel the same way. Like, you're not. I'm not laughing at you. You're not laughing at me. You're laughing at the ideas I put out. And
I'm laughing at both of y'all.
Yeah. That's a good way to rephrase that, because I don't think I'm not trying to degrade you in any way. I just think that the idea is.
No, man. I know you're not. Don't. You can laugh all you want. Don't worry about that at all.
Okay. We'll laugh at each other. How about that?
So, Otto, do you want to say anything?
I'll laugh at your chimp idea, and you can laugh at my 6,000 year idea.
So my thing about it is we have eyes, we have limbs, we have ears, mouth, nose, but it's like the actions that we take are just so vastly different. It's not just a 1% comparison.
Like, are they really vastly different?
Bro, they could be using rocks and all that stuff, but
are they the only comparison we have to making that difference so vast? Because if we had another comparison to something that could travel across the galaxy in 3 days, it wouldn't really be that different, to them at least. And so I had Otto's gonna step out to use the bathroom real quick, but I'll keep talking to you.
Okay.
I feel like the point of the baseline, basically, is what I'm saying. The point of reference is very important. Because if we are only referencing what we've seen, then it's vastly different. But if we see something vastly different from us, I feel like we would look back, and the whole hindsight is 20/20 saying kind of fits here. It's like, if we were to look back compared to something vastly superior to us, we'd be like, in my opinion, we'd be like, yeah, we're a bunch of monkeys who figured out how to build houses, and we don't even build them that effectively. Like we have houses burn down and collapse, and
Right.
we don't
We've
even.
also built the Taj Mahal. And
Yeah.
we built, skyscrapers up to the sky, up to the clouds.
Yeah, and then
we
built
glass. I think China's built a glass bridge over this huge valley that's like something like 10,000 feet up in the air.
Okay,
not 10,000.
see-
Yeah, I think it's like something like 10,000 feet up in the air or something.
See, I'm terrified of heights, so
And the things we create too. I mean, some of the things we create are just amazing.
yeah. I guess like the point I'm trying to get across, and first off, I'm afraid of heights, so I will never step foot on
so you
whatever.
never find me on that bridge.
Yeah.
I can tell you that much.
But I guess the thing I'm trying to say is like they are amazing to us, right? Like if ants were as conscious as us, they would think their mounds are just as incredible as New York City. But to us, an ant mound is just like, dude, I'll set that on fire. Like that's no problem to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so another, say, alien species, and we definitely need to get you on again because I want to know your opinion on aliens, but we don't have the time for that. But like if an alien species came swooping in and saw us, they'd be like, yeah, we could literally just set this on fire like we could to anthills. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think the point of reference is pretty important. But I say we move on to your next question. And try to.
And I think we already answered this one. Number 4, my fourth question was, what is your background with religion? And you guys actually started with that, so I think we can move on to number 5.
Go ahead, Otto.
Okay, yeah. So my background with religion is, I grew up Catholic. My mother taught Sunday school. I went to Catholic schools up until from 5th grade up until high school. And it's just, I don't know, at some point I was like, man, like, it just seems like these are all stories, These are all just, stories. But, like, don't get me wrong, like, they have good lessons, right? Like, these stories, that they carry on good messages and stuff on how to be a good person.
Otto, I'm sorry.
Right.
Do you mind if I butt in real quick?
Go ahead.
So I feel like every story, and I'll let you continue. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I feel like every fictional story has a layer of truth to it. There's a metaphorical truth to the Bible. I am 100% on board with that. I mean, you read a Stephen King book with all of the horrible shit that goes on in those books, from the raping, murder, to everything he includes in just about every of his books. That's a very true part of humanity.
Yeah.
And that shit happens.
Yeah.
And so the Bible, in my opinion, like I respect the hell out of the Bible. I look at it as the greatest story possibly ever told. It's resonated for 5,000 years.
Yeah, it's popular for a reason.
There is something there.
Yes.
I am all on board with that.
Yes.
To me, the issue comes with looking at it as something to believe in rather than as something to live by.
Yeah.
And those are very different things to me.
Right.
Because
go ahead.
Because you look at the Bible and you get the story of Cain and Abel, one of the most well-told stories of jealousy to ever scratch the surface of anything.
Right, it's brother killing brother.
That is an amazing story.
Yes.
I love the story of Cain and Abel. I love it. Right?
Yes.
And so there is a very strong truth there. People kill each other over jealousy all the time.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yes.
Right? But is the Cain and Abel story literally true? That is where I start to have problems.
I believe it is, because I believe that there's no metaphorical language in those verses. So I do believe it's true, but I think the main focus of the Bible you might be missing, though, because the main focus of the Bible, if you take the Old and the New Testament, I mean, all those stories and all the things that happen in there have a purpose, and everything in the Bible is supposed to point to Jesus. So when you look at even all the way back to Genesis 1 and 2 and 3, when you look back to all of those, if you look at Genesis 3, backtrack a little bit. Genesis 1 and 2, everything was created perfect, right? But then in Genesis 3, you have Adam and Eve who fell, and they fell into sin. And so even in Genesis 3, there is a prophecy in there that they would crush, that God would send the descendant, which would be the Messiah, to crush the head of the serpent. So God promises, even though that there's going to be consequences for the sin, there is going to come a redeemer. So that was the whole purpose of forming the nation of Israel. You get it. You go down a little bit further, and you get into the story of Abraham, and the whole purpose of Israel was to bring the Messiah in, right? So that's why God called Israel out. So then you get all the way to the New Testament, and then everything kind of like comes to a pinnacle there, and then you, of course, you have the story of Jesus, and then you have the story of the apostles, and then in Revelation, everything basically gets summed up by Jesus returning and ruling over the earth. So that's the main point. Some of the stories, in there, if they're maybe a little too hard to believe. I mean, in time, God would help you to understand it and give you the faith to believe it. But the main focus of the Bible is believing in Jesus, and that's, if you can believe that, you can believe that Jesus rose from the dead and make him, the Lord of your life, and believe that he's risen from the dead, that's the sum of the Bible, and it's not whether or not you believe in Joseph or, the story of Joseph or Samson or whatever, it's all about Jesus, and that's the main thing.
Do you think Jesus actually walked the earth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's tons of evidence that he did.
I don't know. It's all iffy to me. It's all iffy whether or not he did to me.
Well, I'll let you. I'm gonna make one quick point. I won't take over
the
fucking thing again. All the stories written about Jesus were written about 1,000 years after he supposedly existed, and I am very clear about saying I have no fucking clue if Jesus walked the earth or not. So I don't try to say he didn't or he did. Otto, continue.
My understanding of it is that the evidence overwhelmingly supports it. I think there's even most of your non-believing historians believe that he actually walked the earth. There's very few people that actually doubt that he was here, because you just have so many accounts, outside the Bible. Like, you have a lot of Greek writers,
Roman records,
people who were prominent Romans who actually wrote about this person called Jesus in Jerusalem. So I think most historians believe that he actually did walk the earth. I think that the percentage of historians that don't believe that are pretty small, from my understanding of it, from what I've read and understand of all of that.
See, where my seed of doubt comes from is that whether or not he did perform all those miracles. Like, did those miracles actually happen, or were they just some type of interpretation for that evening?
I believe that they all really happened. I really do. I think we're really getting to the crux of why I believe what I believe here. Why do I believe in Jesus? Why do I believe that the Bible's true? And for me, it's absolutely about the Bible becoming true in my life. Like, there's a point in time when you put your faith in Jesus, where the things in the Bible start to become reality in your life. And the things, it's no longer just something that you're reading on a page. Suddenly you're starting to see these things in your life. And it's like, wow.
That's you interpreting it, though. That's you interpreting what you read and applying it to your day-to-day life. I think I could see Jesus being a real person. I could see that. It's just whether or not he rose, the dead, made the blind see, made the cripple walk. Is
Well, I think maybe you're misunderstanding, because it's not me applying it to my life per se. It's actually God working it through me, because there's a lot of things that I couldn't have done on my own that only can be explained by God. There's just so many things that have happened in my life that I can't just say, well, I did this,
But why not? Why couldn't you say that? Why couldn't you credit yourself to doing what you did?
Because I didn't have the desire to do it. I didn't have the desire to do better in my life. I didn't have the desire to do good, before God. I didn't want God. I was at a point in my life where I was like, you know, at least my perception of God, who I thought God was, I wanted nothing to do with that. And it was a transformation that happened in my life that I can only give to Him. You know, he changed my life and has done things in my life that I couldn't have done for myself. Sure.
I think that's what makes me an agnostic. It's like, because if I ever do something, you know, for the good of myself, I credit myself to it. I don't take time to thank God, you know, for giving me.
Right.
So like that may be where, you know, my faith falls short. That, you know, it's God who's working through me. I literally believe that, you know, everything I do is because of my own actions, you know.
Right.
But I don't know, man. It's like, you know, you said you know, you're a born again Christian, you know, and who knows? Maybe I will find God. I'm agnostic. Like, I'm on the fence about whether or not there is a God or not.
That's cool though, dude. That's cool. Keep looking, man. Keep looking. Don't give up. You know.
And like, honestly,
the advice I'd give you, you know, just I think you know, you're on the right track. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
you're talking to a Christian, so that's a good sign, right?
Yeah, and every time me and my mom get together, you know, somehow it always comes up, right? And and it's like how you and I are talking. Like, we're never arguing. We're just like, you know, bringing up, bringing up, like, oh, like, do you think Jesus really did this? Do you think this really happened? And it's like, it's just all, to me, it's just all speculation. You know, who am I to say yes or no to that? It could have Jesus could have well performed all those miracles. He could have brought the dead back to life.
Okay, amen. I believe that.
But what gets me is, like, you know, why did God choose that point in time to send Jesus? Like, why not send him now when I feel now we need God more than ever, you know? I feel like people more now than ever, you know, need to come together, agree that we may have some differences, but either way, you know, we have a common attribute, right? Like, we're all just people.
Right.
So one thing.
Well, he is going to come back soon, I believe. I really believe that the signs are there. You know, Jesus talked about the signs in Matthew 24, and we see some of them in the Book of Revelation. We see some of them in other parts of the Bible. You know, the signs are all here, and I believe the last thing that has to happen before Jesus coming back is the gospel to be preached to the whole earth. So I think that's the last thing. And then it says, Jesus said in Matthew 24, the end will come. So, and that means Jesus is coming back. So he is coming back, I believe. I believe we're close, man.
This is a question that's not on the stuff I sent you.
Okay.
Sorry to put you on the spot here, and then we'll get back to the main questions. Because I do want to get through all of these, so let's try to make this as quick as possible.
Okay.
Why do you believe in this holy book and not the Quran or the Torah?
Well, I've actually read the Quran, and the Torah, I guess, is the Old Testament.
Well, it's basically the Old Testament. I think the Torah is technically the first 5 books of the Old Testament, and I've read that as well. But when I became a Christian, it had nothing to do with even me wanting to be a Christian per se. I was fighting God. How do I put that? I was so against being religious. What I believed that a Christian was like. What age did this take place? Sorry to interrupt you. What age were you so against being religious? Like, was it my age? Like, am I going to be a God-fearing Christian when I'm 50?
You could be, man. You could be.
Hey, that's entirely up to you, man. But you know.
He will be. Mason is weak-minded.
I think, what age was I? I said 17 earlier. I think I was 16, actually.
Okay.
And I think I was 16 years old, I believe, when I first got saved. And basically, I perceived religion as being a Christian as being religious and dressing up in a suit and tie and going to church every Sunday and looking good in front of everybody, and then going home and just acting however you wanted to act, you know. And I just looked at it as, it's just a big game that you play on Sunday, and you know, you just go home and do whatever. But
well, I respect the shit out of you for pointing that out, because that's how I feel about 90% of the people I went to school with.
What did he say?
He basically said that church.
I'm a real person. I've always been that way, and I'm still that way. I'm just, if I'm going to believe something, it's got to be genuine, and I'm not going to just, I'm not just going to believe in something just because it's there and somebody says it's the right thing to do. So I get the skepticism. I get it.
Let me,
you know, I just, what got me though was, an answer to your question is when there was one night in particular whenever I was in church, right? I was in the youth group, and everybody kept inviting me up, and the Holy Spirit had been tugging at my heart and tugging at my heart and tugging at my heart, and I kept rejecting it. And I was like, no, I don't want this. I don't want this. But and that was all coming from, you know, hearing about God's love and how He wants a relationship with me, and it wasn't about all that other stuff. So God was tugging at me, and finally I decided to go up to the altar and give my heart to Him, and it was an instant transformation in my life. The Holy Spirit came and dwelt inside of me, and I don't know how to describe that feeling to you, except to say that it's the most awesome feeling that you'll ever feel in your life. You feel like, you know, you don't even realize that there's a part missing in your life until that happens, but you suddenly realize that, wow, there was a big empty hole there, and that thing that I was always missing in my life, it's suddenly filled. It's not there anymore. I feel like my life is whole now, like I'm where I'm supposed to be, and that real experience is what caused me to just believe in Jesus. Believing in the Bible came later. You know, believing, you know, let me rephrase that. Believing in everything in the Bible came later. There was obviously, you know, I went through stories in the Bible and I didn't understand, and it made me think like, wow, why did this happen? You know, but you know, it's just like, it's almost like a step-by-step process. God takes you one step at a time, and you know, the Bible puts it like this, that He takes us from faith to faith and glory to glory.
I am being genuine here. I do not mean to discredit your answer at all, but have you ever done mushrooms?
What? Where did that come from?
No, because like
that's an interesting response.
I know that sounded stupid as hell. But
Mason, why would you say that, bro?
Listen.
Why would you say that?
This is why. So I don't know if you've ever looked into the clinical studies done with psilocybin mushrooms.
Okay.
But
I haven't.
Okay, I'm being serious here. You actually should after this. So there is this very.
I think I know where you might be going with this, but go ahead.
There is this weird parallel that popped up from all these independent studies done by different teams, by different scientists, etc. Right?
Right.
And so this parallel came up that all of these people who were doing these studies, they kept saying the word spiritual. Okay? In all of them, all these independent studies. And so then one team was like, hey, why don't we make a graph for the 5 most important / spiritual experiences in your life? And they did this study, and one of the questions at the bottom was, where would you list this in terms of the most spiritual experiences in your life? And 6% of them said in the top 3.
Okay.
And so I feel like genuinely that there is a strange parallel between psychedelic experiences and religion. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls or not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you know who John Mark Allegro is?
No, I don't.
Otto is posing a very important question on his notes that he's taking, so we're going to ask that in just a second, and then we'll get back to the main questions because I do truly want to get through all of them. But John Mark Allegro, his translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls came to the conclusion that these people were taking mushrooms at church, that sounds ridiculous. Like, I'm all with you. But
Right,
as someone
right.
who has done mushrooms and has had that experience, it is
Right.
not shocking at all. That doesn't believe I believe what he's saying.
All right.
But it's not something that shocks. That would not be shocking if that were true. Is basically what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, let me respond to that. There's two questions there. Let me respond to the second one first. This is about Martin Allegro. The first thing I'll say is that you got to realize that there are different sects of Bible scholars, right? There's different groups of them. They're not all Christian Bible scholars.
Okay. Okay.
When
I'm with you there.
about, like, there's Christian Bible scholars, and then you have others such as, believe it or not, actual atheists. There's atheists that claim to be Bible scholars, and there's also certain unbelieving Jews who also believe in that. When I say unbelieving Jews, I'm saying Jews who do not believe in Jesus Christ, that actually will try to translate the New Testament. So it's
Wait, I thought that was all Jews. I thought all Jews didn't believe Jesus was the Messiah. Is that not true?
Say that again?
I thought all Jews believe that Jesus is not the Messiah. Is that not true?
No, not at all. In fact, there's a movement called Jews for Jesus.
Ha!
There's also, it's called what is that called? One for Israel or something like that. And there's actually a lot of Jews who believe in Jesus. But now the vast majority do not know. Especially
Yes.
your what do they call those?
Hadistic?
I guess
Hasidic. It's Hasidic Jews.
Yeah.
Hasidics.
Yeah, those they don't, but yes, there are actually. You can look up Jews for Jesus, and they're actually a Christian Jewish group. But yeah, and they also have what's called Messianic temples, which are Jewish Christian churches. So yeah, there's actually some that do. But back to the answer. You're basically letting the wolves into the hen house. Basically, you're saying you got to be careful which Bible scholars that you listen to. There's
Okay.
as Christians, we don't accept those Bible scholars.
But
reasons, but as far as as far as your other question goes, as far as like mushrooms and stuff like that, and being parallel to the Holy Spirit, I've heard questions similar to that before.
You should try them.
They've done studies on adrenaline and different things like that. That they think that some people think it's an adrenaline rush and things of that nature. But my response to that would be when you're doing drugs. I've done some. I haven't done the heavy ones, but I've done some. But they all pretty much have one basic truth to them, and that's that once you're done getting the high goes away and you're back to where you started. So the presence of the Holy Spirit never leaves you.
Okay.
And he's always there. The Bible promises that he never leaves you or forsakes you, and it's such a comforting, peaceful presence that it's hard to describe. It's just the most amazing feeling in the world. Is all I can say.
Is the Holy Spirit inscribed in each and one of us, or do we have to look for it? What do you think about that?
The only Jesus said that the only way to receive the Holy Spirit is through faith in Him, and when you do that, then you receive the Holy Spirit. So that's something that's given as a gift to the children of God. Yeah, to Christians, to believers.
Let me. Damn it, dude! Your question fucked me up. I forgot what I was gonna ask. Let's go ahead and go. I think it's our question now. Didn't you? Okay, let's go ahead and get back to those because I do want to get through all of them. So we have we touched on this a little bit, but this is why I wanted to hold off. Do you believe in Noah's flood? Why or why not? If you do, what is your evidence besides the Bible?
Okay, besides the Bible. Yes, I definitely believe in Noah's flood. Obviously, the Bible would be my number one source, but going beyond the Bible, I came up with basically, once again, there was just far too many evidences to go over.
Okay.
So I just basically picked out three, one from ICR, one from AIG, and one from Creationist.com. So I'll give them to you, and you guys tell me what you think.
Okay, give us 1 second. We're getting the notepad opened up to take notes on what you say so we can respond to them with some level of accuracy.
Gotcha. And of course, if you want far more evidences, you can look up those websites and that they'll go into far more detail than what I can go, and obviously with more scientific knowledge than I have. So
Okay, so go ahead with your first point you had. I actually forgot we sent the questions to each other. So I'm like, how does this dude have 3 points of evidence right here just off the bat? But now, okay, I remember now. So go ahead with your 3 points of evidence.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The one from ICR is the fossil record. They say that geological strata and their contained marine fossils, oceanic fossils cover all continents, including all mountains. There are also intercontinental red bed sequences, tuff beds, and coal-bearing strata cycles.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and cover that first point.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, you said something about the mountains. Read that to me again so I can give you a real answer. I forgot the description you used.
Oceanic fossils cover all continents, including all mountains.
Okay, so now this comes back to geology, which, as I said earlier, is my...
And I'm pretty sure I know where you're going to go with this because I've heard this before from other evolutionists, but go ahead.
You can call me whatever you want. Don't hesitate. You can call me an atheist, man. That's not what I'm saying.
I didn't mean that as a degrading term.
Hey, man.
I meant like I heard you...
believe in evolution, right?
No, I meant like I heard you stutter. You can say the first thing that comes to your head. No one's going to get mad here.
Mason's a butthead. You can call him that.
So,
I mean, to me, it's no different than you saying other Christians. It was no degrading intention intended there.
So no, I didn't take it that way either. So with the oceans covering the mountains, I would be happy if you've heard this argument before because that means you may have a rebuttal. But over the 4.5 billion years that I think Earth has existed for, there has been many periods of times where all the continents were looking completely different throughout 4.5 billion years. Yeah, you can have oceans halfway up Mount Everest, and you could have oceans covering Mount Denali in Alaska. Like, you can have all these different settings that took place if this time span is that long. So that's where I run into issues of using fossils on the mountain as evidence, because to me the fossils on the mountain are evidence of a different geologic time, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my response to that would be that and what basically creationists would say is that it's basically just the possibility of that happening and the possibility of the flood causing those things are basically two different theories. You basically have the theory in creationism to where all of these things were created more rapidly, that the flood is what caused the tectonic plate movement, and or it could have been that God just moved the plates as the flood was occurring, that this happened at a very rapid pace. So again, I think that's something that just comes down to like who you believe. That's I mean, there's the only way I think you can prove that is to prove how fast, if you can, through geology, how fast those things were able to actually form. And in fact, I was reading just a few days ago, I believe it was on Creation.com, about how the evidence that they have that rock formations were formed very rapidly. So that might be something that you look into. I'm not an expert on it, so I can't really give you too much more on that. But I do. That's basically the thought process that creationists would come from. There is that these things formed very rapidly because of the flood, and that it did not happen over a 1,000,000-year time span. But so that would again kind of go back to what we were talking earlier about whose evidence do you believe, and that's the only thing that you could do is to try to prove how rapidly those formations actually occurred.
Well, I mean, will absolutely do our homework on what you brought up. Like we're not here to just end this debate with this little conversation and never think about it again.
Yeah,
like we want to get you back on.
I'm enjoying this, dude. I'm really, really enjoying this conversation. But yeah,
good.
I
That's
don't
awesome.
take it bad in any way. No.
And so, me from a geologist standpoint, and I'll be clear, I'm not done with my geology degree, so I can't fairly call myself a geologist quite yet, but I'm almost done.
Okay.
But from my point of view is, we do kind of know how fast this happened. We have pretty good evidence that like that video that you commented on, what happened 12,800 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We have some pretty solid evidence as to how fast all of this unfolded. Okay? And so...
And that would also be disputed by creationists, so I would encourage you to look at that.
Okay, that's fair. I will look into it. Now, that was the first point. Let's get to the...
Okay, that was the first one. That was ICR. Now, AIG...
Go back.
Let's see. What they said is that rapid burial of plants and animals, extensive fossil graveyards all across the world, such as, and then they give an example, the red wall limestone of the Grand Canyon. Fossil record shows catastrophic destruction and burial.
All right, so my response to that, and Otto, you can get in on this.
He said fossil record shows what?
Fossil record shows rapid burial of different things, and that is extremely true. But so where evolutionists and geologists and stuff come into play here is, first you got to give me a general date on when this rapid burial occurred, and then we have to look at other records to see what was going on there. So let's say you give us a date that lines up with the stratigraphic record of the dinosaurs going extinct 65 million years ago from an asteroid. Then evolutionists go, well, yes, of course, you would expect
I'm not well versed enough to give you all of that, so you would have to look at the websites to be able to check that out.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wish I was a geologist myself. We could have a more intelligible conversation, but
it's our first episode, man.
Yeah, it's our first episode, man.
First episode, bro.
I'm sorry. You're breaking up there. Were you trying to say something? I'm sorry.
Cheers to Steven.
Yeah.
Cheers to you, bro.
This is our first episode, so don't worry about being under-knowledgeable.
Yeah.
We are too, man.
ICR and AIG have some geologists on their teams, so they'll probably be able to give you a far more detailed response to that. And then finally, number 3, creation.com. They use geomorphology, which is a subfield of geology. Says, but specializes in the shape of the Earth's surface, mountain ranges, plateaus, and plains, hills, valleys, slopes, canyons, and how they were formed. And it gives us a gold mine of evidence for flood. I really didn't think that one through very much, because I didn't really actually write down what the evidence is that they say. So my bad on that one.
Wait, okay.
No, you're good. You're good.
You said they used.
Check them out on the geomorphology. So I just
and
did
you
not write the.
And you define that, right?
Yeah, there you go. Geomorphology. There you go.
So they used geomorphology.
Apparently, I didn't think very well on that one, but anyway.
Hey man, it's all good. It's all good. So okay, listen. What we have is. Hey, what we have is that they used geomorphology to give evidence for a flood.
Yeah, that's you might check that out.
Okay, we can look into it.
Okay,
all right, let's get to
I guess it's my turn now, right?
It is.
All right, what is your opinion on Bible prophecy? I thought this would be an interesting one for you.
Bible prophecy.
Do you want to take? I can.
Let's define it. Yeah, let's define what
Bible
prophecy is.
So my opinion. So I'm talking. I know there are many Bible prophecies. My grandfather is actually a creationist, so I have these conversations pretty often with him. 'Cause he's a cool guy. He's funny as hell. But the Bible prophecies, in my opinion, the main one he usually talks about is a prophecy that the Old Testament predicted someone would come to save mankind, such as Jesus. Basically, okay, I'm summing that up. So in my opinion, all that points to is a well-written book. This guy gave you a prophecy, and he fulfilled it himself. Not this guy. I know the Bible is about 120 different authors or something.
Yeah, you're talking about like a lot of different people that wrote that.
Yeah. And so
over thousands of years.
yeah, and so I think that the Bible was a self-fulfilling prophecy. They said this would happen in the early stages of the book, and then it happened later. To me, that doesn't there were prophecies in Game of Thrones that were just like that. So to me, that's not a humongous line of evidence. Now, Otto's trying to say something. Let him respond.
I'm kind of out of the loop here. I'm kind of out of the loop. What is a Bible prophecy?
What is a Bible prophecy?
Get us some water.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of the loop right now.
It's basically something that is predicted to happen in an earlier time and then comes to pass at a later time.
So, like, history repeats itself?
No, it's just to give, it's not a biblical example. This isn't Bible prophecy, but let's just say somebody predicted that in the year 2022, World War III would happen, and there would be a nuclear war, and then it happens. So, basically someone is predicting something in the past, and it happens in the future.
Okay, I understand.
Exactly as they put it in the future.
So what would be an example of one?
Well, you did mention Jesus. I think he fulfilled at least 300 prophecies out of the Old Testament, but one in particular I think that's very interesting is the rebirth of the nation of Israel in 1948. You look at the Old Testament in Ezekiel 37, Isaiah 66, Jeremiah 16, just all over the place.
Yeah.
It prophesies the rebirth of Israel. Now, Israel ceased to be a nation around 2,000 years ago. And then, of course, if you know anything about history, in 1948, after the Holocaust and World War II, Israel became a nation again. They ceased to be a nation, and then suddenly, 2,000 years later, they're a nation again. So that's, to me, I think is a very interesting one, because that couldn't really be self-fulfilling, right? That you would have to, there were so many events that led up to that point that there was really no way that it could have been anything else,
So
anyway, that's my thought. Your thoughts?
You said the rebirth of Israel was in 1988 or 48?
48. Yeah,
48.
1948.
Okay.
Right after World War II.
So right now we're just taking notes, right? Because we want to do our homework for whenever we call you up again. Okay. No, that's very interesting. Yeah. You said Jesus fulfilled 300 prophecies.
Yeah, he fulfilled actually a lot. It wasn't that he just fulfilled just being a savior of the world. He actually, there were actually specific prophecies that he fulfilled when he came.
So from the Old Testament to the New Testament?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
So
our
your
question,
turn, guys. Number 6.
what do you say of the parallels between different religions? Many saviors born of a virgin died for 3 days and was resurrected. You have Gilgamesh's flood and thousands of Native American flood stories. Why don't you believe in those religions instead of this one?
what other religions have a savior?
I'll show you.
Well, there's been a few, quite a few through history. As far as the flood myths go, believe it or not, creationists actually use that as a proof for the flood. That this was likely passed down by word of mouth through different cultures. But we believe that the Bible, being the inspired word of God, that it would have the most accurate account. But yeah, that's actually if you go to evidences for the flood, that's one of the things you'll run into, is that there were many flood accounts through every ancient culture that existed. So, but as far as parallels between religions, I believe one thing I'll say is that a lot of the parallels are pretty vague. Or a lot of them are anyway. You had the Babylonians who believed in 3 gods. They had over 3,000 deities, but they only had 3 main gods, right? But that's a far cry from the Trinity, where there's Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and they're actually one but separate. And yeah, these 3 Babylonian gods were just like basically the 3 main gods out of over like 3,000. But then yeah, you have a lot of virgin births. You have Ra from ancient Egypt. You have Horus. You have Attis, Dionysus.
Mithra.
I think the Christian response to that would be
Krishna.
Lucifer, Satan, because number one, he was in the beginning with God, right? Or not in the beginning. He was with God in his beginning, right? The Bible says in Isaiah 14, I believe, that he worshipped God. So he would know the attributes of God, right? He would know that
Zeus and Hades
he would
brothers,
know
though?
that God is triune, right? It says also in the Bible that iniquity was found in him, that he was cast out of heaven, that he was jealous of God. He also knows the Bible. We know that through scriptures like I don't know if you know about the temptation of Jesus in Matthew, but the devil definitely knows the Word of God. Even demons know the Word of God, and we saw that when Jesus cast out demons and this one village that he went to, and they said, if you come to torment us before our time, they knew that they had a time. They knew God's Word. So we also know that Satan imitates God. And we also know that his purpose is to deceive the world and lead people away from God, and that he desires worship that God receives. So when you see these parallels, that would be the Christian answer to that, is that there is a devil that works in the world. The Bible calls him the God of this world, and his main theme is to deceive people and to lead people away from Christ. And one of the ways he does that is by imitating God, and he does it very well. The Bible says that he comes as an angel of light, and so he when it says comes as an angel of light, he appears as if he is good. You know, a lot of people think of the devil as a guy with a pitchfork and horns, right? But the biblical depiction of him is as an angel of light, and he comes appearing to be good, but he's not.
Well,
So
I remember
that
He's
would be my
tempting.
response
He's
to that.
temptation, huh? He's tempting you.
Well, I remember in high school we were taught that sin is 2/3 right, because the devil is so good at disguising himself that he makes
Yeah.
2/3 of it correct, and then the 1/3
That's
of it's
true.
wrong, so you overlook the
He'll always
1/3.
tell you the good stuff. He'll never tell you the bad stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead, Otto. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just popped in my head.
So-
Oh, no. And I'm done. That's my response to that.
So when you say parallels to other religions, you mean like mythology too, like Zeus and
Well,
Hades?
I was thinking that the question dealt more with past religions. That was my impression. Were you meaning more current religions or
Well,
what?
I meant
I completely messed that up?
No, so my
Okay.
taking from what you said was that it's just natural for humans to put together three different powers over the others.
Or it was something that it's the devil knows the attributes of God. He knows who he is. So if he's going to imitate God and deceive people, then that's how he's going to do it. He's going to try to be like God. So he is going to appear to be as God. So that's what I meant by that.
So you think they were being tempted by the devil to make these other religions? Is that?
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
That's a fair point. But see, like another parallel that you pointed out is that you said the devil worshipped God at one point. Well, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
In Greek mythology, Zeus and Hades, which is basically God and the devil in that religion.
Not really. It's
It
different.
kind
It's
of
kind of
like
different.
Zeus is the king of gods,
Listen,
and Hades is
you
the
have
king of hell.
you have Kronos though. You have
like the
titans
ruler of the
above them.
underworld, right?
There's
I
a
think.
hierarchy.
Okay.
With God, it's more like a pyramid. I feel. With God, it's more like
I
a
got
pyramid
you.
scheme.
Okay.
Greek mythology is like a hierarchy.
Yeah, but wasn't Zeus like the king of gods?
Yeah, but fucking Kronos would have killed him.
But he was a god though too.
He was a god of war.
He wasn't just the devil. He was like he's basically a Greek god.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
exactly.
So you have Zeus and Hades. They were brothers, and Zeus.
Right.
I mean, Hades used to follow Zeus until Zeus banished him for whatever. I don't know.
Right.
And then he became the god of hell or whatever. And so there's so many. Like, to me, evolution is what brings this about, because you have. I explained this to Otto earlier, so he's about to hear this again. But so you have
We're gonna cut it out too.
2 different types of errors in evolution. So one is, say you're going to pee and you're a hunter-gatherer, and you hear the grass rustling next to you. the first error is to assume it's a dangerous predator and run away,
Okay.
even though
Okay.
it's the rustling of the wind and there was no dangerous predator there. The second error is to assume it's the wind when it's a dangerous predator. So those people die sooner who make the second error than the first error, because the first people are so worried about an intentional agent, which is a predator whose intention is to eat you, that they're running away from every time the grass moves. And so they're going to live longer.
Okay.
And so over time, that evolution gave way to assigning intentional agency to everything. So if a tornado came through and ripped up your village, that wasn't just a matter of atmospheric sciences, that was, we did something wrong, so God is punishing us, which is exactly what the flood story is. So to me, there is a very clear line in evolution saying we are made to assign intentional agency to everything. So of course every culture on earth is going to come up with a God. That doesn't mean that God is true. To me, that means they're misinterpreting evidence as God, when it's really just an imbalance when a cold and warm front hit each other and start spiraling and cause a tornado.
And as a Christian response to that, of course, we would see it as just another tactic of the devil, right? That would be his way to explain off everything. And the devil has, at least according to our faith, right? The devil has a lot of tactics that he uses, and we can see that through the many different reasons that people have for not believing in God, right? Okay. So he's extremely intelligent, and he knows how to sway people away from God. But that would be our response to that.
Okay, so I think it's our question next.
Okay.
Let's get to that.
Is it yours?
Wait, hold on. No, I asked the last one. It's you.
Hold on. Okay, I kind of want to ask a question, Mr. Parks.
Yes, sir. What you got?
Is the devil evil, or what? Like, what does he represent?
And can I add on to that question? Why would the devil punish us for disobeying the same God he disobeyed?
You know, why? That's an interesting question. Why does the devil punish us? And I believe that the devil just has an extreme hatred for God, and we are made in the likeness of God, and therefore he hates us as well. You know, he wants the worship that God desires, or that God, the worship, did I say that right? Yeah, the worship that God desires, he desires as well. And he wants basically the power that God has, and he can never have it. And, you know, as far as his motives go, you know, the Bible does give us a few clues to that, that he's prideful, he's jealous, he wants to be like God. And why that hatred is transferred onto us, like I said, I believe it's because he knows that we're made in his image, and he loves us, and he desires a relationship with us. And anything that God loves, Satan is going to hate, and he's basically the polar opposite of God in that regard. So that would be what I would say on that.
That was a great answer. I'll put that out there now. Like,
that made so much sense.
It is. I'm not religious, but
it answered the question.
I respected that answer.
It answered the question. Yeah, that was a good answer.
Appreciate that.
So I'm gonna go get us some more water. Why don't you ask Otto the next question, unless you have something to say, Otto, and then
well, what was the next question?
It's his question.
His question?
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm on question number 6 now, right? Do you believe the complexity seen in many life forms points more towards intelligent design or random natural causes, and why?
So, I think there is a design. It's just who is the designer is my question.
Design.
Who is the designer?
I guess we've pretty much already answered that one, haven't we? We've pretty much been through.
I mean,
questions we have are being answered already.
Yeah, me and Mason were like looking over the questions last weekend. We're just like, looking through them like, well, what should we say? But I've thought about it more, and like, yeah, I see a design, right? We have eyes, we have nose, ears, limbs.
Right.
So yeah, who is the designer? Is there a designer, or is it all random? That's my question. I'm agnostic. I don't say there's definitely not a God. There is a God. Like I'm searching.
Right.
What do you say? What do you
that
what
pretty much answers that one.
what do you think? What do you say?
I guess what's that?
How would you answer it?
Oh, definitely design. I think there's too much complexity to life. I think when you go through random natural causes to get to a conclusion, I think you're just going to get a degradation. You know, you're going to get a decrease in complexity as opposed to an increase in complexity. You know, and you know, you leave anything to itself for a given amount of time, it's going to decay, right? But when you have a designer who's planned things out, you know, he can create it as he chooses in the beginning. So, yeah, definitely intelligent design.
But you're like, you certain that there's a designer?
Well, I think if there's a design, there's got to be a designer, right? If there's if you have a computer, there's got to be a computer designer, right?
So it goes.
You got to have an automotive company that makes the car. So I think if you have a design, you've got a plan. You had to have somebody who planned it. You know.
Why can't evolution be the designer?
You know, not in my opinion, but you know.
So I don't know.
Well, there's not really much plan to evolution, right? Isn't that the whole thing about evolution? That it's random. Things are caused by random natural selection, right? That's
No.
kind of
Okay. See,
know.
that's a misconception, in my opinion. Evolution's not random at all. Evolution it hones in on what on what works. That's not random.
Right.
So
But
let's talk about.
Right? It's kind of like you know, survival of the fittest, pretty much. You know.
Yeah, but that's not random. See, because if random would not survive the fittest would survive the fittest. And
I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, like as if this was like a designed plan, but then who designed it? If that's the case,
the environment.
If that was true, then what designed that?
The environment of space is what designed that. So there, in my opinion, of course, like, you know, you can go wherever you want with this, but in my opinion, the true, like, unbearable, almost unbelievable harshness of this planet is what designed it. You have, if we didn't have these buildings, we'd be getting eaten literally eaten all the time. By bears, by, if the Younger Dryas, which is what my video was on, wouldn't have happened. There used to be American lions, there used to be American saber-tooths, there were everything was here that is designed to kill. And so evolution had to figure out, how do we not get killed so we can keep this alive?
Well, see, I think I don't see evolution as being something designed, though. It's just kind of like it's you know, natural selection. Like, there has to be a mind behind it, right? There has to be like what's the way?
Surviving.
Like there has to be some kind of sentient cause behind it, right?
In my opinion,
how can natural selection cause complexity? You know, I mean, it's just
in my opinion. No, there does not have to be anything sentient behind it. The only thing that has to be behind it is staying alive.
Right.
That's not necessarily sentient, because you cannot sleep, eat, drink for 4 days, and all of a sudden your brain's going to be like, yo, we need to fucking eat, sleep, and drink, because I want to stay alive.
Right.
So go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, no. I was just going to say, that's an interesting concept, but I think that the complexity that we see, I guess this is kind of going back to like one of the first questions that we had, the complexity that I see in DNA and cells and all that, to me, just doesn't seem like it could be caused by random natural causes. It's just too improbable, mathematically impossible for it to happen that way, you know. So I don't know. You know, when you look at something that's more complex than a supercomputer like our DNA, you know, there would have to be so many things that happen randomly for that to actually occur. And of course, you know, we get back down to the original conversation we had, how would the first one have evolved? And it's just impossible for it to have evolved through natural random causes. So that would be my response to that.
Okay.
To me, it's like the same side of the coin, you know. and it's still flipping in the air. I feel like the coin hasn't landed yet, whether we know there's a designer or not.
All right, so I say we move on to the next question unless y'all have more to say.
I'm satisfied. That was good.
Okay. Are you ready for the next question, Steve?
You're breaking up there a little bit. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I say we move to the next question unless anybody has any. Okay. The next question
We're almost done, guys. We're almost there.
We got 2 more questions each. That's it.
The final stretch.
Yeah. Do you believe the Bible is to be taken literally? If so, do you believe the earth is flat, as Job chapter 34, verse 14 states?
Okay. Well, I'm definitely not a flat earther. I'll come out and say that right now.
Thank you.
For sure,
Okay.
not a flat earther.
Saved us a bunch of time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But in answer to your question, yeah, I do believe that the Bible should be taken literally, unless, like I said before, unless it forces us into a metaphorical conclusion, right? Now,
Okay,
when I read Job 34:14, I did not see anything in there that showed a flat Earth. I actually I printed out all these different versions of Job 34:14.
Okay, I'm interested to hear that.
The NIV says, it says that it was his intention and he withdrew his spirit and breath.
14.
So you might have to help me a little bit. What in that do you think supports the flat Earth?
Okay, so in my opinion,
we can look it up.
in the Bible I read, it says clay takes the shape of, the earth takes the shape of clay underneath the seal.
Oh wow, you must have a different. You must have given me the wrong verse.
Okay.
And the wrong book. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's
you're right.
Not Job 14.
Okay, you're right. Hold on, I gave you the wrong verse. We just looked it up. Let me. Do you have a computer or Bible near you so you can read it?
The only way I can do that, I think, is if I exit out of the meeting. We might lose our chat.
We're not in Zoom anymore, so you should be able to. Yeah, we're on the phone call. I'm on a different app now that's recording everything we say.
Are we just talking on the phone? Is that all we're doing?
Yes. So
and recording it.
Oh.
NSA style.
Okay, I was wondering why I couldn't see you anymore. I'm like, where did they go?
Hey man, I wish you could be seeing face to face.
Okay. Hey, awesome. Okay. Well, yeah. Then let me get to
Let me tell you the correct chapter and verse.
What did he say? Job 34:14?
I think I was wrong.
If he were to set his heart to it and withdraw his spirit and breath?
No.
Oh.
Okay. Hold on. My computer's acting slow all of a sudden.
We're waiting on an Ethernet cable.
Oh,
Am I wrong? No, 38:14, not 34. Did I tell you
38? Okay, give me a second. I'll look that up.
Okay.
Job 38
Oh,
and
38.
14. Okay.
Okay, my bad.
Look that one up. All right.
38.
The earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features stand out like those of a garment. Okay.
So what other shape does clay take under a seal than flat with bumps coming out of it?
Well, first of all, I have to look at this because I was completely unprepared.
No, you're right. I gave you the wrong verse. That's on me. That's on me. Yeah.
Let's see. Job 38, clay under a seal. All right. Take shape.
It's all good.
The first thing I have to figure out is what seal is. I'm thinking that. Actually, I can look that up in the Greek. I've got a Greek concordance here, so let me go. Or actually, that would be in Hebrew because this is Old Testament. So let me look this up in the Hebrew. That'll actually kind of give me a better idea of what I'm looking at here. All right. Under a seal. So, whoops. All right. I have to give me a second here, because I'm having to figure this out on the fly.
Okay, so clay under a seal, yeah.
A signet ring.
Yes.
Talking about a signet ring. Okay.
Yes. Like wax, wax being sealed.
Okay. Clay. More clay. Okay, so kind of getting the picture here. 14. Okay. Now,
You still there, Steve?
You know, I would have to. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I might have to actually study this. Now, the first thing I'd have to look at is what type of scripture it is. Now, you're looking at 38, and I believe this isn't actually God speaking, if I'm not mistaken. This is actually, because if you look at the story of Job, no, this is actually, okay, no, that actually is God speaking. So 38:14. All right, takes 4. I would actually have to study this, guys. I'm completely unprepared for it.
It's all good.
That's all. I gave you the wrong verse. That is.
To give to you on that. So I would actually have to do an in-depth study on that verse. But so I'm sorry. I'm completely unprepared on that one.
That is completely my fault. I gave you the wrong verse. So don't worry about that.
It's okay, man.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and go to your next question, and we've been going for about 2.5 hours now. So let's
wrap this up.
Yeah. Let's get through these questions. I don't care if it lasts another 40 hour, like 40 minutes to an hour.
Okay,
that's fine with me.
Do you believe consensus automatically equals absolute or even relative truth? I guess the main focus of that is, do you believe that because more scientists believe in evolution, that we should take that as proof that evolution is true?
Do you believe?
Does that prove evolution in your opinion?
There's like many agreements, like does everybody saying it's word mean it's word?
So, to me, this comes back to the argument of I don't believe or consider it a truth that 2 + 2 = 4. Hold on. The math is like the evidence is there. It's not something to really believe in.
Let's take a step back.
Okay.
I majored in math in college.
Okay.
You can prove math. Science, you're not proving anything. It's like what you see. You're not proving. No, dude. It's all theory. You're finding a theory. You're practicing a theory over and over, which is an absolute like what you see.
Okay.
You can prove math. Science is more like you gotta do actual experiments on.
But if all those experiments come back without falsifying theory,
no, but don't put up 2 + 2 as an argument.
Okay, that's fair.
Because any group of people will find out 2 + 2 = 4. That doesn't mean.
But I feel like the evidence, if you do the studies,
that's
correctly,
not science. That's math.
Okay, but I feel
You know
like
what I'm saying, though?
yeah, I do.
You know what I'm saying?
I really do. But
I'm
to
offended.
Me, if you're taking the evidence that is the studies are done correctly, independent studies all provide the same evidence, then you're probably not looking at something that is to be believed in. You're looking at something that is inescapable, because many people who don't talk to each other have come up with the same answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, that's pretty similar to 2 + 2 = 4.
Oh, go ahead.
No, because that just stains math. That just makes people think that math and science are one-on-one.
Well, is math invented or discovered?
That's a whole different podcast.
Okay.
That's a different talk. Like that. Right. We're not here to discuss about proving
you
one.
have a lot of podcasts out of this one.
Exactly.
My response to that would be that when you have the thing about science is that you have facts, right? And those facts, or alleged facts, or I guess a better word for that would be results. In science, you have results of experiments, and those results have to be interpreted. And when you have disputes to those interpretations, you have to be able to refute those with more science. And my argument would be is that the rebuttals that creationism has for evolution are solid enough scientifically that many of their rebuttals cannot be just brushed off. So there's a lot of it too. We went through a few of them, but a lot of the arguments as well, are pretty much subjective in a lot of ways. I mean, there's especially when you get to like the age of the universe. I mean, nobody was there to witness it, right? I mean, we don't have any camcorders, to watch any videos of it happening. So
okay,
a lot of it is speculation, right?
Let me jump in right there real quick.
Sure.
So you have a detective come to a murder scene. He did not see it happen. There were no cameras. Right. There were no pictures. But they can still figure out who murdered the person.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
So,
totally agree
just
with that.
because we
There's
weren't-
definitely evidence to a lot of arguments. There are.
Just because we
but the
weren't
thing that
there.
makes science, like, figuring out these kind of things different than a murder case is that there are so many, and like, it's far more complex than, for one, like in murder case, if you have, motive and a weapon and, you don't have a alibi, then you're pretty much screwed, right? But when you're talking about evolution and creationism, you're talking about so many different facets to it. You have geology and chemistry, and you have astronomy. I mean, there's just so many facets to it. And you could disprove one thing from one of those. Like, you could disprove a find, like, say, astronomers come up with this thing that they think proves evolution, and, creationists could come in and disprove that, right? But you have so many facets of it that it's hard to disprove the whole thing. I think that where creationism, I think two things where creationism really, really has done well, and two very, very deep blows to evolution is that, number one, they can't prove how the first cells could have possibly evolved. That deals with abiogenesis, and I think the second thing is they've disproved that chimp DNA and human DNA are 98% similar. So I think those two things are extremely killer blows to evolution. I think that evolution has a real problem there with those two things.
I'm going to respond with one thing, and then we'll move on to the next question. Doesn't any DNA similarities come into evolution, though? Like, even if it's 1%, we still have something in common.
Absolutely. I mean, there are definitely similarities in DNA with all living creatures because we have similar functions, right? Like,
that's design.
Like you mentioned earlier, like water, we all metabolize water. We drink it. We metabolize it, eating, what would be some other, like, how we take in the sun rays and our body uses that, how we respond to our environment is going to be very similar within different species, but the differences are what make us different. There's so much DNA that makes us different from other creatures that I don't even know where I'm going now. I think I'm getting kind of tired, but
no, it's all good. All right.
But I think you got my point, right?
Yeah, we got.
I think my brain is kind of going on overdrive at the moment.
We've actually already answered the last question on my part, so I'm comfortable with hanging this up for now.
Okay.
And maybe we'll get back together and talk about something else in the future.
Yeah, that sounds good, man.
All right.
I guess the last one was, you asked me what sect of Christianity and creationism I am.
Yeah.
I am a born-again believer, above all else, and I am, I guess, what you would technically call a Protestant Christian, and I'm a young earth creationist, so that's pretty much it, man.
Alrighty.
I just love Jesus, man, that's all.
Well, thank you very much for doing this, sir. We will definitely have you on again in the future.
Hey, thank you, man.
Maybe next time we'll be more prepared,
huh? Great answers, though.
Some things that I was, I was kind of like, I came up with that one, and I'm like, I didn't even write down a reason for it.
Yeah. So it's all good, man. We will keep in touch and do this again in the future. Thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, guys. Well, you guys have a good day and take care. And what's your name? I know Otto, but what was your name?
Mason.
Nathan. Okay, no. I'm Steve. Okay.
Mason. Mason.
Mason. Okay.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, sir. You have a good day.
Bye-bye. What a guy.
Yeah, man.
That was fun. That was good.
You know how many people have fucking called me Nathan over the years?
That's funny.
Literally fucking infinite. And then he pulls through and calls me Nathan.
Wow.
Like, everyone, dude. I can order. I'll be placing it to go order.
Yeah.
I'll come in. I'll be like, you got to order for Mason? And they'll be like, no. I'll be like,
Nathan?
What about Nathan? And they'll be like, yeah, we got one for Nathan. I'm like, fuck, man. Like,
it's like
every time.
It's like when you ask Europeans, or when you tell Europeans, that you're from Arkansas, and they're like, no, I don't know where Arkansas is.
I know.
Arkansas? Oh, Arkansas! Yes, Arkansas. we know all about that. I'll be back.
All right.
That was great.
First debate out of the way. In the future, we're going to have debates about climate change. That's, well, I said it like I was about to have a series of different things coming off, but that's really the only one planned for the near future. Maybe I'll get my socialist friend on here and we'll talk about politics. I'm not sure where that's going yet, but we're going to have many episodes of me and Otto only, just talking about nothing, having a good time, and we'll talk about some serious stuff as well in that same podcast. So it's mainly we're going to have debates, we're going to talk about random scientific topics, and then also fucking act like the idiots we are on here and have a little bit of fun. So
we got like way too drunk, and now we're into that.
Yeah, we did, man. I started
just like having to really focus in. Like I was like, bro, all this typing, I blacked out. I blacked out while I was typing all this.
I don't even remember how serious things got.
No, he was talking. I don't know.
Dude,
if he
he's
could
a
tell.
well-spoken guy.
I don't know if he could tell. That's
No,
the thing. He might
yeah.
have.
I don't feel like we got drunk enough for everyone watching to be able to notice until we've admitted it now. But
I may have been a little too loud, but I'm just loud naturally.
you did get loud a couple times. That's like
because I'm a passionate person.
I could only see it on the little graph that shows our audio waves, and yours were going off
dark
the screen.
Blues, yeah. It gets real dark blues. The whole screen gets covered in chords. I don't get it. Yeah,
That's
like
what
that.
it looked like right
Yeah,
there.
like that.
Yeah. When he was just having a normal conversation, and it's because this mic is much louder than the one I usually let Otto use. This picks up everything. That one has a little screen in front of it.
Did we lose some recording?
No.
What happened? Because
we lost like 8 seconds.
Really?
Because if I were to click down here, like I had to do to get the notes off the screen, it stops the recording.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole time he was talking and we were on Google.
I thought you lost that whole thing.
No, I didn't.
Okay, good.
It was whenever I clicked on the side of the screen here, that'll stop the recording, then I had to replay it. And so it took me a second to realize, I was like, shit, it stopped recording when I did that. And so I pressed record. So it was like 8 or 9 seconds.
Let's go ahead and save this notepad, Humble Beginnings. Save as, let's just say, episode 1. Or takeaways from episode 1. I think we had some good takeaways.
I did. No, I want to get him on again.
Yeah, these are good.
Because out of all the people I've talked to on...
getting back in like 2 weeks or so. Next week we'll just fuck around.
Yeah, dude. Because he didn't answer the questions with bullshit.
Yeah, he gave his own answers.
Let's say you're a Christian, you believe in the answers he gave. And I'm all behind that. Your mic's not on.
I know, I just like it right here.
Okay. So, whenever, I can't remember what exact question I asked him.
There were so many.
It was something about the devil. I was like, why would the devil punish us for worshiping, for disobeying the same God he disobeyed? And then he gave a very good answer to that.
Yeah, a good interpretation of it.
He did.
Mm-hmm. I was blown away, yeah. What did he say? Let's try to recreate it. It was right
here. He basically said he
devil.
hates anything God created. And if God made us in his image, then he hates us, even though we disobeyed him like he did. You know what? If you're a Christian, that's a good answer.
Yeah, that's it. They don't tell you that when you're a fucking 8-year-old, though.
No, they don't.
They just say devil bad, God good.
Yeah, like superhero movies.
Exactly. It's just a Marvel movie.
But dude, that was fucking amazing, man.
Yeah, I think
we're gonna have to figure out how to stitch the Zoom and Audacity shit together.
I think we really came through near the end.
I do too. My biggest fear is that they missed the first 20 minutes of the debate.
Yeah.
Because, we talked for about 20 before he came on, and then I read that Zoom Basic only allows 40 minutes of host time.
That's so gay.
That is gay.
That's gay.
Zoom, you're never going to sponsor us.
Zoom, you're so
You
fucking
can offer us $1 million an episode, I'm turning it down. All right?
Yeah, for real. They're gay in the fucking most sense of the word.
I know, but what I did notice is that the Zoom videos were saving as MP3 files. So I think I can stitch them together in this, because this app's great. How many hours does this record?
Audacity? I've seen sponsors for Audacity. We should be sponsored by Audacity, dude.
Will you speak into this mic? That mic's not on.
Let me get two mics. Audacity. Get your 30% off your first month off Audacity with promo code.
That's not true. We have no affiliation with Audacity, and Audacity's free, so there is no 30% off.
Damn it. Donate to our Patreon.
But we have a tip jar in the About section of our YouTube channel.
Do we
Go
really?
there. What?
Do we really?
Yeah, go there. Go to our YouTube channel. On your
Yeah, if
computer
you
right
like
now.
what you saw, or if you like what you heard.
And we're going to have more of these. Most of the episodes are just going to be me and Otto. Here and there.
That'll be fine, though.
Some other guy.
Go back and watch Joe Rogan's first episodes. Who cares?
It's awful.
Who cares, exactly.
Ours is better than his first episode, so
We
our
got
last
something
one's
going.
going to be better than his last one. Subscribe.
And hit that like button.
Yeah.
Hit that bell notification.
So what are we doing next weekend? Next Sunday? What's the plan?
Meet up again.
Is it just going to be a nonsense episode? Or we just talk shit, or do we want to cover a specific topic?
We could like scroll through the internet or something.
Watch videos, like
Make-
that Flocka dude jumping
Yeah.
into a van.
Get some reaction videos and then give our interpretations of it.
We can just do it, dude. I was about to say we can do it on Zoom, but we can't.
Not for 40 minutes.
Their screen recording was much better than OBV in terms of the lagginess. Maybe I just need to get fucking premium Zoom.
It's not worth it, bro. Why the fuck does Zoom have premium? Upgrade to Pro Annual.
I want to know how much it is.
Special offer. Upgrade to Pro Annual. Save 40% off your first year. Plus,
See, I don't have that. Please see how much it is. Click on it.
Good offer. Good offer. Create an account.
$15 a month, Zoom?
Bro, $150 for a year, bro. That's what I get for a lap dance. For 50 minutes. Dude,
Zoom needs to calm the fuck down.
Let's, yeah, for real. They're not that good, bro.
They're not.
We get one pandemic, bro, and they think they're hot shit.
We don't have to use Zoom. We'll just get an Ethernet cable so OBS doesn't lag.
Let's ask the Redditors. Let's see what Reddit has to say about software that we can use. Fuck Zoom. Fuck Zoom and their mama.
I feel like all the good shit costs money.
No, dude, Reddit will tell you some free software to use. Free software. All my Redditors out there, make sure you subscribe. We gotta get a Reddit going, dude.
Reddit?
A Reddit.
TikTok, and YouTube Shorts?
We're gonna get everything. Instagram, MySpace, AOL, whatever you got. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was still there. How are we doing? This has been Nonsense and Science, brought to you by Mason and Otto. Brought to you live from Wisconsin.
We're gonna cause a landslide in this yard if we keep
I was thinking about that earlier. It's like I was gonna like one of these episodes. You're gonna be like, yeah, we got a fucking dry patch out there, just a fucking dried out yellow patch of grass.
Dude, was that Zoom with the 40% discount? Dude, do free podcast software, not just free software. You know how many softwares are out there?
Right. So then we just search within the Reddit.
There you go.
There you go. Podcast. What are your favorite open source podcasts? Discussion. Shout out to all my Redditors.
I don't have Reddit.
They got porn on here. they got
It does.
they got lots of fucking titties on here, bro. And pussy. Maybe dick. I don't know. I haven't looked into that.
Sure you haven't. That's why he brought it up. Because he just wanted to make sure everyone knew he's not looking up the dick.
I know. I'm just saying. You know, we're just open to everybody. You know, if that's what you look up, that's what you look up, bro. They could have. Listen, if they have tits and vagina on here, they definitely have penis.
Otto turned the mic away from me so I can't shit talk him.
Yeah, Mason just called me the F word. Everybody go dislike this video.
Podcast.
Everybody make sure you comment Mason's canceled. Look at this. FSFE.org has been my favorite podcast lately of any genre. They always no.
This is like the best podcast. Not the best podcast. Fucking
Open source podcast? Fuck me. You feel
Podcast
me?
software. No, I'm just gonna look it up on Google.
Look it up on
Better than Reddit.
look it up on Bing.
Bing, dude, Bing can suck my dick.
Google works with China too much, bro. We cannot affiliate with China. Don't get me wrong. I find Chinese women beautiful, but that's government.
Best podcast software.
You're right. That's why I should type into the fucking damn Reddit search bar. Shout out to all my beautiful Asian women out there.
Diane's gonna watch this.
No, she's not. She doesn't like podcasts.
Doesn't like podcast? Well, good thing this is 3 hours into
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Thank God she doesn't love me enough to listen to me for 3 hours. Could you imagine? Podcast software. Here we go.
Our podcast.
I don't know where to really start.
Go ahead and dislike this guy's post. This competition.
There's a good guide on getting started here.
Click on it.
Okay. In 2020, I'd be like, once you're done editing it, you'll export the MP3 and upload it to podcast hosting.
We will never use a podcast host.
Do we want to get on Spotify though?
For podcasts.
Do we want to get on Spotify?
We get on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Fuck Apple. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with Apple.
At least Apple actually lets you say do not allow app to track.
Android, you can just rig it.
You don't gotta rig it on Apple.
Yeah,
Go ahead and
but
check out transistor.fm. See what they have to offer us.
oh
Free
my
trial.
God, that means after 14 days it's not free.
Are they gonna host it to 8 people that I'd get to on YouTube anyway?
So how's that? How is Steven gonna spread the word?
I'm gonna stitch all this audio together,
Send it to him.
which may take a couple hours. Then I'm just gonna send him the link, and he's gonna post it on his channel.
Okay, look at this. We kind of have a bit. 99 a month.
A month?
Well,
I don't want it downloads. I just want to host it.
okay, 2,000 downloads, unlimited shows and episodes.
This
Right.
doesn't sound like
Yeah,
it's
it sounds
hosting
like
our
it.
podcast. It sounds like we're paying money to listen to other fucks' podcasts.
And upload ours. Nope. I'm looking for podcasts for work.
Let's just get them on.
Hey, bro, you want to come on a podcast? 3 hours ago. That's
I
how long
love
ago we
anime.
started.
Harry Potter, bro. Sorry, you failed the test.
Yeah, get him on here. Yeah, so how long have you been gay? When did you come out?
Like, Harry Potter's not that bad, but the fact his pitch is I love anime, Marvel, DC, Harry Potter, and video games.
Like, come on, bro, you gotta be more interesting than that. What drugs do you do?
That's what you need to look up.
What are your thoughts? Do you like
Drugs.
MDMA? Do you like narcotics? Question mark.
Narcotics? That's not how you spell narcotics, bruh.
He'll know. I was gonna like sign in. I don't want to sign in.
Just sign in.
Bro, it's all for the bit. Listen, who is it? Put Baby Walker 66.
If you ever happen to see our podcast, we'll get you on and talk shit to you.
Yeah, hit us up at 838.
I've listened to Joe Rogan. Who hasn't? It's Always Sunny. I haven't. How I Died. Serial Killers. Dude, this guy's gonna fucking murder us.
And Murder Mysteries. Dude, what fucking basic bitch doesn't? Are you a female? Are you a woman?
Baby Walker is possible.
No woman on this podcast, sorry. Men only. This is a misogynist podcast.
Very.
I don't know what we're looking up. I think
We just need to figure out the best podcast software. I mean, Audacity works, but there's no video. You can't attach video to Audacity in any way.
Should I look up video software? Video recording software?
Maybe we just need to get a legitimate camera.
I could find one maybe around the house if I could.
A legitimate camera? The fuck?
Like an old ass 2008. Not
So
Kodak,
so it
but
looks like the 9/11 software. I'm trying to look a little bit better than that.
Oh my god, they hit the Pentagon! They crashed into the Pentagon, oh my god.
So we need a good camera.
You should look it up, 9/11 footage. Why not? Reddit will show you people at their fucking heads. Vivid footage. If we get enough subscribers, we will be getting a screen share.
Yeah, if we get enough money to pay for Zoom Premium.
Yeah,
or just
essentially.
get an Ethernet cable, which is a lot cheaper and easier.
And use the other application.
Yeah, OBS. It's like much better than Zoom, but
We're on r/conspiracy now.
I don't know what the problem's been. I keep getting these phantom sneezes where I get
You don't
milliseconds away from sneezing and then don't. Dude, I could break a table from not sneezing when that happens.
Hey, in Minecraft, did you get too high?
No.
No.
I took one hit in Minecraft and knew my limits. Did
Yeah.
you get too high?
I was kind of getting there, but I was like, let me just focus back in and play the game right.
It's been a long podcast. I say we wrap this up.
Do it, bro. Just hit the record button.
I did. Next Sunday, we're back.
Tune in, yeah.
I don't know what we're talking about, but we will figure it out. Thank you for listening.
Thank you to Stephen Parks.
Yeah, we'll get you on again. Later.